The message spread across every star system like a thunderclap, carried through ancient communication networks that reached even the farthest colonies, and the face of the Galactic Emperor filled the skies of 1,000 worlds, his presence cold and heavy, his voice sharp and without mercy, declaring that Earth had only two choices: surrender completely to his rule or face total destruction, and there was no compromise, no middle path, only obedience or death. And as his words echoed across the galaxy, entire populations froze in silence, markets stopped, ships halted in space, and even children turned their eyes to the sky, feeling fear without truly understanding why, because the Emperor's voice was not just sound, it was power, a weight pressing into the hearts of every listener, reminding them that he had conquered countless civilizations before, that he had burned entire planets to ash when they refused him. And now he had chosen Earth, a small world on the edge of the stars. Seen by most as weak and unimportant, yet dangerous enough for the Emperor to demand its complete submission, and when the feed switched to Earth, billions waited to see what the humans would do, to see if these strange beings who had risen so quickly in the last few centuries would bend the knee or fight against the greatest power the galaxy had ever known. The leaders of Earth appeared on screens, sitting in silence, their faces pale, their eyes shadowed with the weight of the decision before them, and their silence was louder than any words, a silence that stretched for long moments, making even distant worlds lean forward, waiting for a sound, a gesture, any sign of choice. But the silence dragged on, and in that silence fear began to grow. Not just among humans, but across alien colonies who had lived under the Emperor's reign for generations. Because they had seen this before, they had watched the pattern repeat again and again, a world threatened, leaders frozen, fear spreading, and then submission. Always submission, because no one ever dared to defy the Emperor, no one survived defiance, and so they believed Earth too would bow, and already whispers started spreading in dark corners of cantinas and trading stations, whispers that Earth would collapse under the first strike, that the humans had no chance, that the Emperor would make their world into another burned shadow, drifting through space. On Earth itself the silence cut deeper than anywhere else, for ordinary citizens watched the broadcast with hearts pounding, some clutching children, some whispering prayers, others staring blankly as if they could not believe what they were hearing, and across the colonies humans had built on Mars, on Europa, on distant moons beyond Saturn, fear settled like frost, because every human knew the truth. Their fleets were smaller than the Emperor's, their weapons newer and untested against his ancient armadas, and their people scattered, and many believed they could not resist, that to fight would only mean destruction, the end of their fragile rise among the stars, and yet there were others who clenched their fists at the thought, who whispered in anger instead of fear, because humans had never been a people who surrendered easily, not on Earth, not in history, not in the stars, and this conflict, though uneven, awakened something old and dangerous in their blood. The Emperor's message replayed on every screen again and again, his words sharp and final, echoing in every ear, surrender or be destroyed, and still the human leaders did not answer. They sat together in chambers shielded from the public eye, voices rising in arguments, some shouting that they must submit, that survival was better than pride, others shouting back that surrender was death of the spirit, that humanity had fought for freedom too many times in its history to give it away so easily, and the world outside did not know of these debates. They only saw silence, a silence that looked like weakness, and across the galaxy alien races who had once admired humans now shook their heads and turned away, believing they were just like all the rest, soon to bow or soon to burn. But deep beneath Earth's surface, where no broadcast reached and no alien spy dared to look, there were rooms filled with screens and maps of stars. There were soldiers who did not speak but only moved with purpose. There were engineers who had been working in shadows for decades, building something never meant to be seen until the very moment it was needed, and as the galaxy watched the silence of Earth, in those hidden depths a different kind of silence was building. A silence, not of fear but of focus, of something being prepared, of something waiting for the right time. And though the leaders hesitated and the people trembled, there was a signal starting to form, faint at first, carried across secret lines, passed from hand to hand, whispered from voice to voice, a signal that said one word only, a word that humans had always carried in their hearts when pressed to the wall, a word that meant more than survival, more than submission, a word that could ignite fire even in the darkest night, and that word was no. It did not reach the galaxy yet. It was not spoken aloud, but it pulsed quietly, hidden inside humanity's silence, waiting for the moment when the Emperor would demand again, waiting for the moment when the world expected surrender, and then it would emerge, sharp and final. Not a plea, not a negotiation, but a refusal, and though no one beyond Earth knew it yet, that word would not only change the fate of one planet, it would shake the stars themselves. The galaxy waited, silent and tense, after the Emperor's broadcast faded, his warning still echoing across the stars. On Earth, the silence of the human leaders seemed endless, but deep underground, in the hidden command centers, a decision was already forming. Unknown to the galaxy, preparations had been underway for decades. Humanity had never trusted the Emperor's growing shadow. They had seen how he absorbed smaller worlds, crushing their cultures, erasing their histories. The human mind, clever and stubborn, had whispered one truth for generations: this day will come. And so while the galaxy believed Earth was weak, humans had been preparing, building, and hiding. The Emperor expected immediate submission, but no reply came. His ships already moved into position on the edges of Earth's solar system, massive dark shapes blotting out the stars, dreadnoughts older than Earth's first space stations, their hulls marked with scars from 100 wars. Aliens across the galaxy saw these movements on intercepted channels and whispered among themselves that humanity was finished. "They will surrender," said one. No one resists. And for a moment, even those who had admired humans began to mourn them, believing their courage would mean nothing before the Emperor's endless fleets. Inside Earth's main chamber, the leaders argued still. Some were desperate. "We cannot fight this," one voice said, trembling. "If we resist, Earth burns. Billions will die." But another voice answered, low and steady, "If we surrender, we are already dead. Humanity will no longer exist. We will be slaves, forgotten within a generation." Silence followed those words, because everyone in that chamber knew it was true. The Emperor did not conquer to share power. He conquered to erase, to consume. Across the colonies, fear was cracking into anger. On Mars, miners dropped their tools, listening to broadcasts on rusted radios, muttering curses at the Emperor's threats. On Europa, engineers turned their eyes to the skies, whispering to each other that perhaps this was the moment humanity had been waiting for, the chance to prove itself. On distant asteroid stations, soldiers polished their weapons in silence, already preparing for a fight their leaders had not yet declared. Humanity, scattered though it was, seemed to breathe as one, a mix of terror and defiance. And then, while the galaxies still waited for Earth's answer, the message appeared. It was not from the Chamber of Leaders. It was not from diplomats or generals. It came from a single channel, small at first, then spreading as if pulled by unseen hands. The message was short, simple, and terrifying in its boldness. One word only: no. At first the galaxy thought it was a mistake, a glitch, perhaps a rogue voice. But the word was repeated, carried across systems, encrypted and rebroadcasted from hidden satellites and deep space relays. It grew louder until there was no doubt. Humanity had answered the Emperor. And their answer was refusal. On alien worlds, shock rippled through cities. Some laughed bitterly, calling humans insane, fools who did not understand what they had provoked. Others whispered in awe, because no one in living memory had dared speak that word to the Emperor. Generations had lived under his shadow, never once hearing a refusal. Now, a small world on the edge of the galaxy had shattered the silence. The Emperor himself heard it, and for the first time in centuries, his mask of cold control shifted. His voice, deep and venomous, shook entire systems as he roared his reply. "Then Earth will burn." His fleets moved instantly, dreadnoughts changing formation, weapons charging. the sky above Earth's colonies filled with signals of war. But humanity was not trembling anymore. In the underground command centers, secret projects awoke. Vast bunkers opened, revealing weapons hidden for decades. Shipyards buried beneath oceans lit up as massive vessels rose from the deep. On the far side of the moon, what aliens believed were research stations split apart, revealing hidden warships, black and sharp, built not for defense but for war. Humanity had been underestimated, and now their secret preparations spread like fire. In the darkness of space, where the Emperor's fleets gathered, human ships began to rise, smaller in number, but burning with new energy. They were not as large as the dreadnoughts, but they carried weapons the galaxy had never seen, weapons designed in silence while no one watched. The balance of power was about to be tested in a way no alien had believed possible. The galaxy watched in awe, in horror, in silence. One side was an empire older than most stars, with fleets that blotted out the light. The other was a species still considered young, reckless, fragile. Yet in their refusal, in their one word of defiance, humanity had done something no one expected. They had made the galaxy believe, if only for a moment, that the Emperor could be challenged. The first human warships rose from the darkness, like shadows given form. They were smaller than the Emperor's dreadnoughts, but their sleek hulls glowed faintly with hidden energy, a design no alien had ever seen before. To the Emperor's commanders, they looked fragile, laughable even. "They send toys against titans," one admiral said, his voice dripping with scorn. But his laugh died quickly, because as the first clash began, it was clear something was different. The Emperor's fleet moved with terrifying discipline, ships spreading like a net around Earth's solar system. Their weapons charged, beams of starfire crackling across the void, preparing to strike. Billions of alien viewers tuned into the Emperor's war channels, expecting to watch Earth's final breath. To them, it seemed inevitable. No world had ever stood against such power. But then the first human ship fired. It wasn't a beam of energy or a missile swarm like most empires used. Instead, a sharp pulse rippled across space, invisible at first, then bright with sudden force. The nearest dreadnought shuddered. Its shields, thought to be impenetrable, flickered once, then collapsed. A second pulse followed, and the massive ship, older than human civilization itself, broke apart, its armored hull splitting like glass under a hammer. Silence swept the watching galaxy. "What weapon is this?" alien commanders demanded across encrypted lines. No answer came. Humanity had kept its secrets well. The hidden truth was that Earth had been studying not just alien technology, but physics itself, in ways no empire had bothered to attempt. The Emperor's fleets relied on tradition, on power refined over centuries. Humanity had relied on desperation, on creativity, on finding the cracks no one else looked for. The battle exploded in chaos. Human ships darted like wolves around the massive dreadnoughts, striking not with overwhelming firepower but with precision. Each pulse targeted weak points, collapsing shields, tearing through engines, disabling weapons. The Emperor's admirals, stunned at first, quickly roared orders to regroup. Dreadnoughts formed a wall, weapons unleashing storms of fire. Space around Earth lit up with destruction. Whole human ships were vaporized in an instant, crews screaming as they vanished into the void. Humanity bled, but they did not break. On Earth and its colonies, every screen, every broadcast showed the battle live. Families huddled together, eyes wide, watching their children's future being written in fire. On Mars, miners cheered each time a dreadnought fell, fists pounding the metal walls. On Europa, engineers screamed at the sky, urging human ships to move faster, to strike harder. Across asteroid belts, soldiers in bunkers slammed their fists into their chests, whispering promises to join the fight soon. Humanity was no longer afraid. Humanity was alive with fire. The Emperor, far away on his throne world, watched in silence. His advisors trembled, unsure if his fury would strike them next. One whispered, "They are dangerous." The Emperor's eyes narrowed, cold and sharp. "They are foolish." No world defies me and survives. He raised a single hand, and new commands were sent. The dreadnoughts shifted, revealing weapons not seen in centuries, ancient superweapons capable of ripping moons apart. The galaxy shuddered as these engines of death prepared to fire. Human commanders saw it too. In their underground bunkers, faces went pale. "If those weapons fire, Earth itself will break apart," one general whispered. But another voice rose, calm and steady, the same voice that had spoken no before. "Then we strike first." The order was given. In the blackness beyond Saturn, hidden stations long thought abandoned activated. Massive structures unfolded like flowers of steel, revealing cannons taller than mountains. These were not ordinary weapons, they were humanity's deepest secret. Powered by energy drawn from the very fabric of space, they pulsed once, then released beams that sliced across the void. The first beam hit a dreadnought directly, cutting it clean in half. The second swept across a line of ships, vaporizing them in silence. The galaxy gasped as the impossible unfolded. Humanity, a species dismissed as primitive, had unleashed weapons that made even the Emperor's fleet hesitate. Yet the price was high. For every dreadnought that fell, 3 human ships were lost. Brave crews gave their lives, slamming their vessels into enemy hulls, detonating reactors to destroy ships too large to defeat otherwise. The void became a graveyard, scattered with burning wreckage, silent screams frozen in the vacuum of space. Humanity was proving it could fight, but the question remained, could it win? As the battle raged, one strange thing became clear. Across alien worlds, whispers grew into voices, voices grew into chants. Species long broken under the Emperor's rule found themselves rising to their feet, hearts pounding with something they had not felt in centuries: hope. For if humans could fight back, if they could say no and survive even a single day against the Emperor, perhaps others could too. The galaxy was changing before everyone's eyes. But in the heart of the storm, amidst the burning wreckage, one message pulsed again across the stars, a defiant echo: "We will not surrender." And the Emperor, for the first time in his reign, felt the weight of those words. The battle over Earth dragged into its second day, the void filled with wreckage, drifting bodies, and fire that never burned out. Humanity had stunned the galaxy by breaking through the Emperor's dreadnought wall, but the cost was brutal. Entire squadrons had vanished, and many of Earth's new pulse cannons were damaged or exhausted. The skies above the planet glowed red with explosions, and yet Earth still stood. The Emperor's throne world, a black marble palace orbiting twin suns, had never known silence. Normally, the court was filled with whispers, songs of loyalty, and the hum of obedience. But now, only the sound of the Emperor's boots echoed as he walked across the chamber. His golden cloak trailed like fire, and his eyes burned with ancient fury. Around him, his council of alien advisors bowed, not daring to speak. When he finally did, his voice was cold and final. "They mock me before the galaxy. They forget who rules the stars. I will remind them." With a wave of his hand, the Emperor activated a weapon forbidden for millennia, a colossal warship called the Devourer. Unlike dreadnoughts, this was no fleet vessel. It was a single, living machine, grown from a black star's corpse, its hull pulsing like flesh wrapped in metal. Entire species had been sacrificed to build it, their energy bound to fuel its heart. It had not moved in centuries, but now its monstrous shadow turned toward Earth. The galaxy trembled as broadcasts lit up every world. The Emperor himself was coming. Some fell to their knees in worship. Others shook with fear, certain that Earth's last hour had come. Even those who had dared to hope now whispered, "No one survives the Devourer." In the war rooms beneath Earth's surface, human leaders stared at the images with disbelief. Generals cursed under their breath. Engineers shouted that no known weapon could withstand it. Some wanted to surrender now, to save what was left of the planet. But then, once again, the calm voice of the commander spoke. The same voice that had defied the Emperor before. "We always knew this day would come. That is why the vault exists." The room went silent. The vault was only a rumor, a myth told among human soldiers and miners in the deep colonies. Some said it was hidden under Antarctica, others claimed it lay beneath the Pacific. Wherever it was, the vault was said to hold humanity's oldest secret, technology built not for conquest, but for survival. Now that secret was about to be revealed. As the Devourer entered the solar system, humanity activated the vault. The ocean shook, waves rising hundreds of meters high. The ice of Antarctica cracked and fell into the sea as the Earth itself groaned. From the depths, vast structures emerged, towers of obsidian metal that stretched toward the sky, covered in strange glowing lines. They were not ships. They were something older, something alien, yet human. "Those aren't weapons," whispered one general. But they were wrong. The towers began to hum, resonating with Earth's magnetic field. Energy pulsed through them, connecting across the entire planet. For the first time, the galaxy saw Earth itself transform into a weapon. A shield of light, vast and shimmering, erupted across the planet, wrapping it in a cocoon of energy. The Devourer fired. Its main cannon, forged from collapsed star matter, unleashed a beam capable of slicing through moons. The galaxy watched as it struck Earth's shield. The light rippled, cracked, then held. The beam shattered against it, scattering harmlessly into space. Silence spread across every broadcast. Humanity had just stopped the unstoppable. On alien worlds, gasps turned into cheers. Civilizations that had never dared resist the Emperor found themselves screaming in joy. The impossible had happened. Earth had survived the Devourer's strike. But the battle was not over. The Devourer moved closer, weapons blooming like black flowers. It was preparing to tear through the shield with everything it had. Human fleets regrouped, damaged ships limping back into formation. Commanders barked orders. Pilots strapped into cockpits, faces pale but eyes burning with resolve. Across the colonies, volunteers begged to be sent into the fight. Humanity was no longer fighting just for Earth. They were fighting for every world in the galaxy that had ever dreamed of freedom. And deep in the command center, the human commander gave a final order. Activate Phase 2. From the hidden stations around Jupiter and Neptune, new ships emerged. Unlike the earlier warships, these were massive, almost dreadnought-sized, but with strange, shifting hulls that bent light around them. They had no names, no history. They had been built in silence, in secret, waiting for this one battle. Their cores were powered by something no other empire had mastered: controlled singularities, tiny black holes chained inside reactors. As they entered formation, the Devourer turned its monstrous gaze toward them. The Emperor himself appeared on every human screen, his face carved from stone and rage. His voice shook the stars. "You are insects. You delay the inevitable. I will burn your world to ash, and the galaxy will remember only your screams." The commander stood before the broadcast screen, not trembling, not bowing. His answer was simple, sharp, and unbroken. "We are not insects. We are humanity, and we will never kneel." The galaxy held its breath. On one side, the Emperor, eternal and unchallenged for centuries, with the greatest weapon ever built. On the other, a defiant species who had turned their homeworld into a fortress and revealed ships powered by chained stars. The clash that followed would decide not only Earth's fate, but the future of every world in the galaxy. The galaxy froze as the Devourer advanced, its colossal shadow blotting out the stars. The monstrous warship pulsed with a dark rhythm, alive with energy stolen from suns and sacrificed worlds. Entire civilizations held their breath, watching through trembling broadcasts. To them, the outcome was already certain. Nothing had ever survived the Devourer. Earth would burn, and humanity's defiance would end in silence. But Earth did not tremble. The vault's towers glowed brighter, their pulses synchronizing with the planet's very heartbeat. The shield that had stopped the first strike still shimmered, scarred but unbroken. And beyond the shield, humanity's new ships, the black hole-powered Titans, shifted into formation. Their strange hulls bent light, making them look like moving shadows. No one outside Earth had ever seen such vessels. Some whispered they weren't ships at all, but living machines born of human and alien design. Inside the Devourer, the Emperor sat on a throne carved from a dead star. His eyes glowed like burning ice as he studied the humans' defense. Around him, his generals and servants trembled, waiting for his wrath. But the Emperor only smiled, a cruel, patient smile. "They think they have teeth," he whispered. "They will choke on their own defiance." The Devourer opened its wings. Thousands of void lances extended, each capable of vaporizing a fleet. The Emperor ordered the first barrage. Space itself screamed. Beams of annihilation shot across the void, tearing through everything in their path. Earth's new ships scattered, their singularity cores bending gravity to twist and warp the incoming fire. Some survived. Others were shredded instantly, their wreckage spiraling into nothing. But in their sacrifice, they bought time. The commander stood in Earth's war room, eyes fixed on the chaos above. His voice remained steady, carrying across every channel. Phase 2 is working. Continue the maneuver. Across the galaxy, watchers tried to understand. What maneuver? What were humans doing? And then they saw it. The black hole ships were not attacking directly. They were weaving a pattern, aligning themselves in a vast circle around the Devourer. Each ship emitted gravitational pulses, tiny ripples that bent light and twisted matter. Slowly, impossibly, they began to form a net, a gravity cage designed to hold even a starborn monster. The Emperor realized the trap too late. He roared, his voice shaking the bones of his own soldiers. "Break them, rip them apart." The Devourer unleashed its full fury, tearing through the human net. Ships exploded one by one, each death a burning flare across the blackness. But even as they died, the survivors held their positions. The circle was incomplete, bleeding and broken, yet it began to close. Space groaned as the net tightened, locking onto the Devourer's vast form. On alien worlds, people screamed and prayed. No one had ever seen anyone dare to trap the Emperor's ship. Even the most oppressed colonies found themselves shouting in desperate hope. For the first time in centuries, they wanted to believe. Inside Earth's command center, alarms blared. Half the black hole fleet was gone, their sacrifice leaving only a fragile cage. Scientists shouted that the strain was too great, that the singularities would collapse, that the net would fail. But the commander raised his hand for silence. His voice was calm, unshaken. "Activate Phase 3. From deep below the Earth's oceans, the vault's final secret rose. It was not a ship, not a weapon, but something far stranger. A spear of pure energy, as tall as mountains, forged from the planet's magnetic core itself. It shot upward, piercing the clouds, humming with a sound older than humanity. The towers across Earth fed their power into it, and the spear began to glow brighter than the sun. The Devourer thrashed against the net, tearing human ships apart. The Emperor screamed in fury, his throne shaking with his rage. "You dare bind me? You dare chain me? I am eternity." But the humans had no fear left. The commander gave the final order. "Strike." The energy spear launched from Earth, faster than light, guided through the collapsing gravity net. It pierced the Devourer's heart. For a moment, the universe went silent. No sound, no movement, just a stillness that felt eternal. Then the Devourer screamed. The sound was not heard but felt, through bone, through stone, through the stars themselves. The monstrous ship convulsed, its wings folding inward as the energy consumed it from within. Light poured from its wounds, and the shadows that fueled it burned away. One by one, its weapons went dark. Its engines sputtered. And then, with a final shudder, the Devourer exploded. The blast lit the galaxy. Worlds hundreds of light years away saw the fireball bloom, brighter than suns. For the first time in living memory, the Emperor's greatest weapon was gone. But the victory came at a cost. Nearly every black hole ship was destroyed. The vault's towers cracked and fell into the seas, their cores drained beyond repair. Earth's shield flickered and dimmed. Humanity stood alive but bleeding. In the ruins of his throne room, the Emperor staggered to his feet. His face, once carved from stone, now burned with unholy rage. He had lost the Devourer, but he had not lost himself. He raised his hand, swearing a vow across every channel that still reached the stars. This is not the end. Humanity will not rise. I will burn them from existence. If I must scorch the galaxy itself, so be it. The galaxy heard his oath, and for the first time, they wondered, was the Emperor afraid? And far below Earth's battered shield, the commander whispered to his people, "The battle is not over." But today, the galaxy has seen the truth. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity fights. The galaxy had never been so quiet. Across 1,000 worlds, broadcasts replayed the same impossible vision. The Devourer, the Emperor's invincible warship, torn apart in a storm of fire. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion bled. The stars themselves seemed to whisper a question no one had dared to ask before. Could the Emperor be defeated? But hope was fragile. Earth's shield was failing, its vault shattered, its black hole fleet nearly gone. Billions celebrated, yet in the silence between their cheers, they felt it. The Emperor was still alive. His fury burned brighter than any sun. Far across the void, within the Dominion's central throne world, the Emperor rose from the wreckage of his chamber. His eyes blazed with a wrath that shook the stones beneath him. For millennia, he had been untouchable, a god among mortals. Now, for the first time, he felt the sting of defiance. His generals knelt, trembling, waiting for his command. His voice was low, like thunder rolling through mountains. They will not celebrate. They will not sing. I will tear Earth apart with my own hands. I will make the stars remember who I am. And then he vanished. Not aboard a fleet. Not with an army. Alone. The Emperor himself tore through the void, cloaked in power no one could measure. His arrival at Earth was not seen, it was felt. Gravity screamed. Oceans heaved. The sky cracked as if reality itself was breaking under his presence. Earth trembled as the galaxy's tyrant descended. The commander stood in the war room, eyes fixed on the chaos above. Every sensor screamed with alarms, but none could define what approached. He already knew. He's coming himself. The surviving black hole ships limped into position, broken but unyielding. Soldiers readied weapons, though they knew none could pierce the monster descending upon them. Scientists whispered that this was not war, it was suicide. Yet across the planet, civilians raised their heads to the sky. They had seen their ships strike down the Devourer. They had seen their people bleed and stand again. For the first time, no one ran. Humanity waited. The Emperor appeared above Earth's capital in a storm of shadow and fire. He did not need ships or weapons. He was the weapon. His body pulsed with energy stolen from stars. His hands crackled with lightning that could tear continents apart. With a wave, he silenced Earth's remaining defenses. Towers crumbled. Guns melted. He spoke, and his voice was everywhere at once, inside every mind. You insects dare wound me? Dare bind me? I will show you what eternity does to rebels. The commander stepped outside the ruined war room. The city burned around him, but his voice remained steady, carried through every open channel. We are not your insects. We are not your slaves. You've ruled the galaxy with fear, but today, everyone saw you bleed. And now, they will see you fall. The Emperor's eyes blazed. He raised his hand, ready to crush the commander like dust. But then something stirred beneath Earth. The vault, though shattered, was not empty. Deep within its broken chambers, something had awakened when the Devourer died. A final safeguard, hidden even from humanity itself. The ground shook. Across the planet, the remnants of the vault's towers lit up once more. But this time, they did not channel power upward. They channeled it inward. The people of Earth themselves became the circuit. Their fear, their rage, their defiance, their hope, humanity's will ignited the vault one last time. Light erupted from the Earth, not as a weapon, but as a storm of pure resistance. It wrapped around the commander, lifting him into the sky. His body glowed with the energy of billions. He was no longer just a man, he was the voice of his species. The Emperor hesitated. For the first time in his endless reign, doubt flickered in his eyes. What is this? The commander's voice thundered across the heavens. This is humanity. The battle that followed was not of ships or armies. It was light against shadow, will against tyranny. The Emperor struck with power that shattered mountains, but the commander, driven by the force of billions, met him blow for blow. Their clash split the skies, turning night into day. Across the galaxy, worlds watched in silence. Colonies that had knelt in chains for generations lifted their heads, hearts pounding with every strike. The Emperor screamed his fury, but the harder he struck, the brighter humanity's light burned. At last, the commander drove the final blow. The vault's power surged through him, a storm of all that humanity was and all they refused to be. He struck the Emperor in the chest, and for the first time, the unbreakable tyrant staggered. His shadow cracked. His fire dimmed. He fell. The Emperor collapsed in the ruins of Earth's capital, his power broken, his body smoking with the fire of his defeat. Silence fell across the world. For a moment, no one dared breathe. Then the commander spoke, not in anger, but in finality. You are not eternity. You are just a man who ruled through fear. And fear ends today. The light consumed the Emperor. His body dissolved into nothing, his shadow burned away forever. Across the galaxy, the silence broke. First whispers, then cheers, then a roar that spanned stars. Chains shattered. Flags of rebellion rose. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy was free. Earth stood scarred, bleeding, its vault gone, and its fleet in ruins. But it stood. And the galaxy knew humanity had not only survived, they had ended an empire. As the fires faded, the commander looked to the sky, his voice quiet but unshaken. This is only the beginning. The stars are free. Now, we must make them ours.